Good morning, Mega Podlings. It is Crazy Joe. It is Wednesday. It's time to get crazy after dark. You know, I've been saying the last couple times I did this that I feel like it's darker around me. And I look around and I see all the lights are on, and I'm like, why does it feel darker? Then I realize it's a light over there. It's a light that like shines this way that is out. I need to replace that because I feel like I'm in darkness. I probably look okay to you guys. I probably don't look any different to you guys. In fact, maybe I look better. I don't know. Because sometimes I know the light, I'm backlit and it kind of washes. So maybe it's actually better without that light. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do I need to replace that light? But welcome. Welcome, welcome. It's time for Crazy After Dark. I see we've got James Borland and Lisa Soares in the room. James says, hey, Joe, do you remember the HBO animated special, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? It's a great special. I gotta say, I do not. I remember the book. I read the book as a child. It was one of those books in the 80s that was like a staple in grade schools. You know, they always read you that book. So I know the book, but I don't know the special. I also know they turned it into a movie, which I never saw, with Steve Carell, I believe. Lisa says, Queen of the Chat, Queen of the Chat. Evening, Joe. Hello, Queen of the Chat. Good to see you. Todd's here. Movie Hunter's here. Landon Wodash is here. I'm seeing Birds of Prey on Friday. Landon, have a great time with it. I've seen it twice. It is a good time at the movies. It's a lot of fun. It's probably the best thing out right now, I would guess. Then again, I haven't seen Sonic, but I really have a hard time believing Sonic's that good. I know it's getting good reviews, but I have a hard time buying it. I'll probably find out this weekend because, excuse me, my daughter wants to see it. So I'll probably end up seeing Sonic on Sunday. I'll probably end up taking her. I don't know. But I think you'll really enjoy Birds of Prey. It is a good time at the movies. BZN Movies and TV says, hey man, how's it going? It's going good. How are you? Lisa says, I thought I was the first message. Apparently not. Well, you were the first message to call yourself the queen of the chat. So you've got that going for you. Gary's here. Reptile Dude, Josh Lord. Reptile Dude says Sonic is okay. I believe my good friend Greg from Greg's Game Room did a review of it, so I know he enjoyed it, as did his daughter. So that's... Oh, speak of the devil, Greg is here. Welcome, Greg. Welcome. He says, what's up, Cracky? What's up, Greg? Landon says, also seeing Sonic on Sunday. I got a real, I don't know, Sonic. I'm a fan of that kind of movie. I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan of that kind of movie. The kind of movie where they take like an iconic cartoon character or IP and make a CGI cartoon of them and then mix it in with live actors. I mean, we had Scooby-Doo. I didn't like the Scooby-Doo movies. We had Alvin and the Chipmunks. I didn't like Alvin and the Chipmunks. I didn't like Yogi Bear. Any movie of that sort, it's not my type of movie. So I don't know, but apparently Sonic is pretty good, so they say. And I'm sure we'll find out because my daughter does want to see it. Greg says it's a fun kids movie. James says, did you know that Solo did not do so well at the box office because of competition with Infinity War and the backlash of The Last Jedi by the Star Wars fan base? I don't believe the backlash of The Last Jedi. I believe that's a falsehood. I know there were people online, a lot of the YouTube trolls organizing boycotts, but I don't think they're as powerful as they think they are. I think it had more to do with timing. Because what I find very, very interesting is all the Star Wars movies prior to Force Awakens, every Star Wars movie opened Memorial Day weekend. But apparently, Memorial Day weekend has turned into a dead zone for movies. Like every movie that opens on Memorial Day weekend just about anymore bombs out. So it's a very strange thing. The tide has turned. That used to be the prime real estate for a movie, and apparently it's not anymore. Very strange. XT and Featurette is here. Good to see you, XT and Featurette. Todd is here. Todd says, have I seen the Bill and Ted Walmart commercial? I did. I like that commercial. It's a very good commercial. And I am so excited for Bill and Ted Face the Music. When we talked about my most anticipated movies of the year, I forgot Bill and Ted Face the Music. That's got to be on my list. I'm really, really psyched for that. I liked the first Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, great movie. And then Bill and Ted Bogus Journey, even better than the original. Even better than the original, due in no small part to William Sadler as Death. William Sadler is so incredibly funny in that movie. And it's just one of those sequels that wasn't afraid to get weird. And I love Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey so much. So yeah, I'm very excited for Face the Music. Gary says, have I seen the CGI Resident Evil movies? I saw a couple of the live action ones with Leeloo Dallas. What's her name? Mila Jovovich. I haven't. By CGI, do you mean animated or do you mean there was CGI in the movies? Let's see. Toaster Burner says, hey Joe, glad to see you. Good to see you, Toaster Burner. Reptile Dude says, did you see the live-action Rocky and Bullwinkle from a while ago? That falls into the same mold. You know, Reptile Dude, I never saw it. I'm not a fan of that kind of movie, so it held little appeal to me. And then on top of that, that's one of those movies that just got trashed. People said that movie was horrible. So I just kind of never got around to that one. I did see both Scooby-Doo movies. I did see Alvin and the Chipmunks, the first one. I didn't see the Squeakquel or any of the follow-ups. So I've seen a handful of those movies, but the concept of just getting an iconic character, turning it into a CGI creation and sticking it in a real world just doesn't appeal to me. Like, I'd rather see a fully animated Scooby-Doo movie, but not Scoob. I got problems with Scoob too. They replaced the whole voice cast. They did it in the crappiest way possible. They replaced the whole voice cast, but Matthew Lillard found out he had been replaced as Shaggy when they promoted the new voice on Twitter. And that's how he found out. And he even commented, he said, well, this is a great way to find out about it. They didn't even have the decency to call him. So I would rather see a fully animated film, something like Jetsons the movie. I'll take Jetsons the movie from 1990, the animated movie, over Flintstones the movie with John Goodman any day. But that's another beast. I mean, that's the fully live action. I'm better with that. Like I like Robert Altman's Popeye with Robin Williams. I think that's a lot of fun. So I don't know, but it's just, yeah, that kind of movie doesn't really appeal to me. Landon says, did I see The Grudge? I did not see the new Grudge. I saw the original remake, the original American Grudge, the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar. I was not even remotely a fan. Greg says Solo is okay, dark visually though, and unlike the original trilogy, I don't feel the need to see it again. Now, you see, I always say, Greg, that I think Solo might be the most rewatchable Star Wars film. I think of all, it's not the best Star Wars film, but I think it's the most rewatchable. And part of the reason I think it's the most rewatchable is because it's very standalone. Like, whenever I watch episode 4, I want to go on and watch episode 5. Whenever I watch episode 5, I want to go on and watch episode 6. Like, each episode kind of leads into the next. So I kind of find it hard to just sit, watch a Star Wars movie, and then be like, I'm done with it. It's like I'd sit, watch a Star Wars movie, and then it's like I kind of want to go into the next one. But with Solo, I don't really feel that need because it's so standalone that I'm like, I could watch Solo and be like, I'm good. I can stop here. So in that respect, I find it to be kind of the most rewatchable Star Wars movie. Greg says, did you see the Matrix 4 set photo? Carrie-Anne Moss has aged a bit. Yes, I did see that earlier today. Again, that's one I'm not too excited for. Mainly because I didn't like the Matrix sequels. And I haven't liked anything that the Wachowski siblings have done since the original Matrix. No, that's not true. I liked Speed Racer, and I enjoyed Speed Racer. Which, again, live action version of a cartoon. I don't know. It seems like we're going in circles here tonight, isn't it? Everything kind of, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze again. I hope we don't have a repeat of last week. Last week I was fine until live stream time, and then suddenly my congestion started up. It was very weird. Gary says, Joe, even Disney had to admit The Last Jedi backlash wasn't a small minority. I disagree with that, Gary. Rise of Skywalker made $1.69 billion compared to Last Jedi's $1.3 billion. Yeah, you see, 1.3 billion. Last Jedi made. It made more than Rise of Skywalker. Like a lot of people don't like The Last Jedi. That's unquestionable. A lot of people don't like The Last Jedi. But by every metric we have to measure reaction to a film, every metric available to us, Last Jedi is a success. It was a huge success at the box office. The highest grossing film of that year. Now, that doesn't always tell you anything about what people think of a movie, because Batman v Superman made a ton of money, but it made it all in its opening weekend. Everything was front loaded. Then it had sharp decline week after week after week. From week 1 to week 2, there was a sharp decline as word of mouth got out. The amount of money Last Jedi made indicates a lot, and I do mean a lot, of repeat viewing. Also, we've got CineScore, which is the only legitimate method of measuring audience reaction, because they actually poll real people coming out of the theater, and they know every single person walking out is only getting one vote and has paid for a ticket. Whereas things like Rotten Tomatoes, if you sign up with multiple email addresses, you could vote like 12 times. And until recently, with their verified score, you have to buy a ticket from Fandango. Until recently, you couldn't even tell if this person actually saw the movie or not. So by CinemaScore, which is the only legitimate way of testing an audience, it scored higher than even Rise of Skywalker. It got an A. I think Rise of Skywalker got a B. It's just, a lot of people come out, they complain about it, but by every metric we have, audiences seem to really have enjoyed that movie quite a bit. Movie Hunter says, I think the second animated movie was called Vendetta, I believe. Is that the Resident Evil? I didn't even know they made animated Resident Evil movies. This is actually news to me. Were they direct-to-video? They had to be direct-to-video. I'm imagining they had to be direct-to-video, because I think I would have heard of them if they had a theatrical release. Jesse says the Flintstones live-action movie was casted great, though. John Goodman as Fred and Rick Moranis as Barney was pretty good. Yeah, but I did not like Rosie O'Donnell as Betty. That I don't know what they were thinking with that one. Greg says, I feel the need to watch Ewoks Battle for Endor after watching the Ewok Adventure. No, wait. I only watched the Battle for Endor. I agree. Battle for Endor is so much better than the Ewok Adventure. Greg says, Flamingo shirt. Are you allowed to wear that outside of Florida? Hey, in my heart, I live in Florida. I'm in Florida right now in my heart. I don't want to be in Pennsylvania. You kidding? I'm a Floridian at heart who's just stuck in Pennsylvania. Reptile Dude says, have I given the two popes a second chance? Not yet. And it's just more a timing thing than anything else. It's just, it's not like I don't want to. It's like it's a timing thing. I also tried to watch Horse Girl. Fell asleep in Horse Girl. But Horse Girl looks really good, so I want to get back to that one. James says, recently at Dollar Tree, bought March of the Penguins on Blu-ray as an upgrade to an old DVD of the film I had as a kid. Harry says, do you collect Pops? I found some Pocket Pop keychains at Dollar Tree. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I got a bunch of Pops right here. I got a Marshmallow Peep Pop right here. I've got Dr. Doom. Let me see. Can't see his face. Dr. Doom. I'm surrounded by Pops. A lot of these I showed up on last week's stream. One of my favorite Marvel characters, The Thing. It's clobbering time. I got a bunch of Pops around me. Toast Burner says, can't wait for you to check out The Outsider. Oh, that's the HBO show? I do want to check that out. I've been meaning to. Oh my God, it's so hard finding time to watch all the things I want to watch. Jay says, I didn't ask for this live stream, but you got it anyway. See, you don't have to ask for some things. Some things are just given to you. The greatest offender in my opinion, of the we didn't ask for that, is someone who I actually like quite a bit. I like him. I like his channel. I think he does a very, very good channel. But he's the king of we didn't ask for that. Is John Campea. John Campea on the John Campea show always, like when he talks about Solo. Why did Solo underperform? Nobody asked for a young Han Solo movie. Nobody asked for it. He says that all the time. Why did Birds of Prey underperform? Nobody asked for a Solo movie with Harley Quinn. He always says that, and I will always maintain that that is a BS answer. That is a total BS answer and has no bearing on whether a movie should or shouldn't exist. Donnie says, is that a fresh haircut? Yes, got this haircut on Friday. I think I'm sporting this haircut in my last video. The Fantasy Island. Fantastic Island was a Daffy Duck movie from the 80s. Does anyone remember Daffy Duck's third movie, Fantastic Island? Or no, it was Daffy Duck's movie, Fantastic Island. That was the title. Gary says, yes, the CGI Resident Evil movies were direct-to-video, but they were praised amongst Resident Evil fans. Okay. All right. I've actually never played a Resident Evil video game. I'm not much of a gamer. I like old 80s games, but other than old 80s games, when it comes to like more modern games, I'm out of the loop. You know what I feel left out on? I hear people getting very nostalgic about old video games, and people really, really, really love and the N64, Nintendo 64. I never had an N64. At that point, I had a PlayStation. I believe I had a PlayStation. Or was PlayStation the cousin of the GameCube? I don't know. Maybe that was GameCube that was out the same time as PlayStation. I don't know. But I had a Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo. I had a Genesis. I had a PlayStation. Never had an N64. So now when I see people getting very nostalgic about the N64, I feel a little left out because I wasn't in on that party. I don't know what they're talking about. Never played GoldenEye. Never played any of those Zelda games from that era. If they ever put out the mini Nintendo 64 Classic, like the Super Nintendo Classic and the Nintendo Classic, I will buy it because I do feel very, very left out there. Lisa says, Sam Eagle's barbecue place in Epcot opened. It opened? Oh, wow. I want to go there so bad. Like, I'm more excited about Sam. This is how screwed up I am. I have so much love for Sam Eagle. Anyone who doesn't know, Sam Eagle is one of my all-time favorite Muppets. All-time favorite. I love Sam Eagle. When I heard about the Sam Eagle barbecue place at Epcot, I'm probably more excited for the Sam Eagle than Rise of the Resistance. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's true. Please tell me they're selling merchandise there. I want Sam Eagle merch, and I want a plush Sam Eagle. Have they ever made a plush Sam Eagle? I don't know. If they have, I don't have one. I want one. Anyway, rant over. James says, ever seen Men in Black, the animated series? In my opinion, it's the definitive sequel to Men in Black. I did watch the sequels at one point. 2 I didn't remember, and 3 I remember being okay. I like, with the exception of Men in Black 4, Men in Black International, which is awful, I like the Men in Black sequels better than the original. The original's good in getting the story going, but in terms of creativity, humor, laugh out loud moments, I think Men in Black 2 and 3 have it all over the first one. Men in Black 2 is my favorite in the franchise. The joke, the shovel joke. The shovel joke is my favorite joke in the entire Men in Black franchise. I did see episodes of the animated series. Kes from Star Trek Voyager, Jennifer Lean, who unfortunately is not in the best of mental health these days. I don't know if you've ever heard about what's happened to Jennifer Lean. It's quite a shame. But she was the voice of Elle in that animated series. No, I asked in my own Letterboxd. Yes, look for Krazy Joe. Krazy Joe on Letterboxd. I am there. James says Men in Black International does not exist in my eyes. So yeah, the first MIB film's the best. I could see why people love the third, but the first animated series are my Men in Black. Yeah, I'm going with Part 2 is my favorite. Part 3 is my second favorite. Then the original. Men in Black 4 is a terrible movie, but it's a terrible movie that breaks my heart because it's such a good idea. It was such a good idea. The Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson have amazing chemistry together. We know that from the Thor movies. And they didn't have a script that supported them. The talent was there. The script was not there. And I almost wish we can get a Men in Black 5 that brings back Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, but this time gives them a good, solid script to work with because they really, frankly, deserve better. They really do. Brandon is here. Welcome, Brandon. Wouldn't the fact that any people going to see a movie automatically negate the argument nobody asked for it? Yes, and you know what, Brandon? My friend Nutty Nuchas, who hosts the podcast Nutty Bites, Great podcast. If you're looking for a new podcast, check out Nutty Bites. But my friend Nutty commented on that video. She commented on that video and she pointed out that one of her pet peeves with the phrase "nobody asked for it" is that it's incredibly dismissive for people who do want a thing. Like, she said she did ask for a Harley Quinn movie. She did ask for a Birds of Prey movie. When she came out of Suicide Squad, she said, you know what they should do next? They should do Birds of Prey. And it was something she wanted to see. And then they announced they're doing it. And then you get the people like the John Campias of the world who are saying, nobody asked for it. And she's like, no, I did ask for it. And you're being dismissive of me when you say nobody asked for it. Because, yeah, there are people who wanted this. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, Brandon, do me a favor, man. If you come across another one of those bad Santas, oh, man, if you could pick one up for me, I'd be most appreciative. I've gone to multiple Dollar Trees, and I have had no luck. And that is a movie I was actually looking for this past Christmas because I never seen Bad Santa 2. I liked the first one, wanted to see the second one, was looking all over for it in the Christmas months, like November, December, because I wanted to see the movie. And I couldn't find it. So the fact that it's out there and it's only $1 now, I really want one. Lisa says, Justin Scard went to Sam Eagles today. I saw through Instagram. Oh, I guess Justin is in Florida right now. Greg, I'm counting on you, man. Get together with Justin. Find out if he knows who I am. It's the eternal question. Does Justin Scard know who I am? All of you tweet at Justin Scard and say, hey, Justin Scard, do you know who Krazy Joe is? I don't know. I have no idea. We have friends in common. We travel amongst the same circles, same people, but I've never met him. And I don't know if he knows who I am, and I'm incredibly curious. I just want to know if he knows has he ever watched one of my videos? Has he seen me in one of Cinema Sickness's videos? Because he's friends with Cinema Sickness. Has he seen me in one of Adam's videos? He's friends with Adam. Does he know who I don't know. I'm curious. I really want to know. So if anyone could find out, if anyone runs into Justin Scard, just say, hey, just curious. Do you know who Krazy Joe is? Because I can't get an answer. Anyway. Yeah, and Cinema Sickness can get the answer like that. He's got his number. All he's got to do is text him and say, hey, you know who Krazy Joe is? He says, I'm not going to risk my friendship for that. I go, why is that risking your friendship? That doesn't even make sense to me. If your friendship is that fragile that the words, do you know who Krazy Joe is going to tear your friendship apart, it wasn't much of a friendship to begin with. That's what I got to say. Anyway. Jamel says, how was my day? My day was fine. How was your day, Jamel? Joey says, I saw Sonic and it was fantastic. Sonic looked great. Amazing CGI for a rush job. Well, I will probably be seeing it this weekend. Joey says, my conspiracy theory is I honestly believe the Sonic redesign was a publicity stunt. I have a hard time believing the original design they showed us was the real thing. I don't know. They could have destroyed that movie. That could have very well backfired on them. X-Team Featurette says that original... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm getting my messages mixed up. I actually really enjoyed Bad Santa 2. Definitely worth $1. I want it, man. Ethan Edwards says, Peep Pop. There he is, Peep Pop. Oh, and guess who else is here? Super Chat Hippo. Super Chat Hippo is in the house. Anyway. Joey says, is that the original... But the original Sonic design was SNL levels of horrible. Okay. I don't understand Saturday Night Live. I don't understand the connection between Saturday Night Live and Sonic. I apologize. James says, say Krazy Joe, do you remember any local clown TV hosts? They were after my time, but I do know about Bozo the Clown and Blinky the Clown. Clown TV hosts. No. Obviously, I remember Bozo. Bozo was interesting because Bozo was a national brand, but syndicated locally. So every town had their own Bozo the Clown, but they were kind of all under the same ownership umbrella. But other than Bozo, I don't remember clowns. You want to talk horror hosts? I remember horror hosts. I wish we still had them. I mean, I know Sven Gulli's still on, but I mean, that's national. There was something about the local, like this was your neighborhood. This was your area's guy. Here in Philadelphia, we had Saturday Night Dead, hosted by Stella. Came on right after Saturday Night Live. And sadly, I didn't watch enough of it because it went off the air when I was young, and I wasn't really staying up past midnight at that young age. Today, I would. I'd love to see something like Saturday Night Dead make a comeback. That would be awesome. Anyway, Jesse says, "Have I seen the new Adam Sandler movie Uncut Gems? I thought it was really good. I did. I did. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And at first I didn't think I was gonna like it. I mean, when I went in, I I was maybe 15, 20 minutes into the movie and thinking, this isn't going anywhere. This isn't going anywhere. This is just like he's running around and just doing stuff, and there's no cohesion to it. I thought, I don't think this is very good. But then the movie went on and continued, and it started to pull together. And then I was like, no, this is actually really good. This is actually a riveting movie. Jesse says, Bozo was out of Chicago on WGN. That was the original Bozo. Was out of Chicago. But the Bozo show did become syndicated, and they had local Bozos. Every town would have their Bozo. But Larry Harmon was the creator of Bozo the Clown. He owned the property. I think he was the original Bozo. I think he was the Bozo of Chicago. And even he eventually stepped down, and even Chicago later had a different Bozo. Joey says, I highly doubt they would listen to fans. They probably expected a lot of backlash for literally any Sonic design, good or bad, because it's the way the internet goes. So I think they decided to control the narrative and control the type of backlash they would receive. Yeah, but Joey, here's the thing. A lot of times, once there's negative backlash, that's it. That negative backlash sticks to you. Doesn't matter what you do. Like, take a good example, Solo. Let's take a good look. We mentioned Solo before. Let's mention Solo again. The directors got fired, got removed from the movie. They had to bring in a new director. Now, Ron Howard did a bang-up job with it. Did a phenomenal job. Movie was great. And but there was turmoil. There was chaos. There was negative press. And I think that sometimes you can't escape that. So it doesn't even matter if the finished product's good. Brandon says, I'll keep an eye out. I'm going to stop by a different Dollar Tree tomorrow. Man, I would appreciate it. What are you seeing tomorrow? You see before you go to the movies. What are you seeing tomorrow? Joey says they made a really horrible, wretched Sonic design that they knew would get a ton of backlash. See, I'm having trouble with that theory, Joey, because I think that once the negativity sticks to a movie, it's very hard to get off. And yeah, it worked out for Sonic, but there's no guarantee it would have worked that way. That could have really blown up in their face. Xteen says, I don't remember any local hosts, but I always thought Mr. Rogers was just a Pittsburgh show until recently. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. It obviously shot in Pittsburgh. But yeah, I was a Mr. Rogers fan. I loved Mr. Rogers. Joey says that yellow flamingo shirt is very sexy. Where did you get it? I got it at Walmart. Oh, yeah. Got this at Walmart. You know me, I can't say no to flamingos. I love flamingos. James says, say Crazy Joe, ever heard of Mystery Science Theater 3000? First episode I've seen was Manos, The Hands of Fate. Yes, I remember when it used to be on back in the day on Comedy Central. That was a good show. That was a good show. Ethan says, you dig the shovel joke. Oh, yes, the shovel joke from Men in Black 2. My favorite joke in the entire Men in Black franchise. I love the shovel joke. James says, say Crazy Joe. Oh, no, I already read that. Gary says, Joe, I don't remember if you ever answered this, but do you like the Stargate movie or TV shows, SG-1, Atlantis Universe? I had a lot of trouble getting into the Stargate franchise. The Stargate franchise was one that always left me just a little cold. I could never really warm up to it. But I did enjoy Atlantis. I didn't watch it start to finish, but I did enjoy Atlantis. I actually thought the best of the Stargate spin-offs was SGU. I was sorry to see that one go so early because I think it was the best of the bunch. But SG1 I had a lot of trouble getting into. I really couldn't warm up to that one no matter how hard I tried. James says, ever seen Mork and Mindy? It was a great show. Absolutely. Classic show. Brandon says maybe The Boy 2 for his movie tomorrow. Bat Quinn says, hey, Crazy Joe. Hey, Bat Quinn. Good to see you. Jesse says, the CGI in the new Call of the Wild looks terrible. That is flop written all over it. Now, you know, here's the funny thing, Jesse. I saw the trailer for Call of the Wild. And then I heard that the dog was CGI, and I don't remember seeing a CGI dog in the trailer, which doesn't mean, obviously, there's a CGI dog in the trailer. I'm hearing it everywhere. I think I was so tuned out of that trailer, I wasn't even really paying attention. I think I just was like, I was staring at the screen and elsewhere because I don't remember. I got to watch it again. James says, I'm interested in the new Sonic movie. I feel like it's another excuse to make another superhero universe just like Hellboy 2019. Hellboy 2019 still pains me. I still wish we had Hellboy 3. DBZ says, hey, Joe, did you also see the Iron Giant toy with the Forbidden Planet one at Walmart? I've been looking for the Iron Giant. None of my local stores have had it, but the search is on. Believe me, I'm aware of the Iron Giant toy, and hopefully, soon I will find one. Gary says, another movie that had a bunch of negativity before its release, Josh Trank's Fantastic Four. I don't think that movie's bad, but a giant missed opportunity. You know, I've never seen it. And it's a movie that it's very rare. It's very rare I take an approach like this. But I desperately wanted Fantastic Four to fail at the box office. I didn't care if it was good or bad. I kept telling people, to me, it's irrelevant. If it's good or bad, it's irrelevant. I don't care. It could be fantastic, still want it to fail. And the reason was, I thought the only way the Fantastic Four rights would revert back to Marvel, the only way that Fox would relinquish those rights was if a Fantastic Four movie just was not profitable. So I was actively rooting against that movie because I wanted those rights to go back to Marvel. Oddly enough, I did not want the X-Men rights to go back to Marvel. I always thought the X-Men were in better hands at Fox than Marvel. I got reasons. But I thought but Fantastic Four I thought belonged with Marvel. And I really wanted to see it happen. Now, it never occurred to me that just a couple years later, Disney would step in and just buy the whole Fox studio. That did not occur to me. But as a result, I've still never seen Fantastic Four. James says, in my opinion, they should have done more Star Trek movies to compete with the MCU and the DCU. That's what most people want. You know, James, Paramount really dropped the ball with the Star Trek film franchise after JJ kind of gave it a shot in the arm with Star Trek 2009. And part of it is JJ. Part of it's JJ. He drug his heels making a sequel. And then he made a sequel nobody wanted. Because everyone, and the funny thing is, you know, you talk about listening to the fans. From the moment that first movie came out, the fans, every time the topic of Khan came up for a sequel, the fans would be like, no Khan, you've done Khan. You have done Khan. You just basically wipe the continuity clean. You can do whatever you want. The world is your oyster. Don't rehash. And he didn't listen. He went and rehashed. So it's like he immediately went and made the exact movie the fans were telling him don't make, which was stupid. But then he also waited too long to make that movie. He didn't strike when the iron was hot. So I agree with you. The Star Trek could have been a big thing. Star Trek could have been a very, very big thing. And, you know, they could have done spin-offs of Star Trek. Like, you could have had the Star Trek movie series with Kirk and Spock, but they could have done, like, their own version of Guardians of the Galaxy with some, like, ragtag group that wasn't part of Starfleet. That lives in that universe. And I read that, you know, there was talk of that. And I saw backlash from Star Trek fans going, well, that's not Star Trek. And it's like, okay, not Star Trek. You don't have to call it Star Trek. But there's nothing to say characters like that can't exist in the Star Trek universe. The Starfleet officers, the Enterprise crew, they're, you know, morally upright citizens, but that doesn't mean you can't have a bunch of ragtag space pirates who are out for profit. coexisting in their universe, and maybe Captain Kirk and Spock are disgusted by those guys, but they're there. But yeah, so you could have done something like that. There's a lot of possibilities that they didn't do it. Jesse says, Joe, did I like the 90s show Sequest? I thought it was okay. I think he left. I don't think he's still here. But Greg from Greg's Game Room was an extra. He was an extra on Sequest. He did a video. Go to Greg from Greg's Game Room's channel, Adventures by George. And, Greg's still here. He says, I was on Sequest. He did a whole video on shows he was an extra on. Look it up. And you'll see all about the episodes of Sequest he did. Yeah, it was a pretty good show. Sam says, just finished recording the next episode of my podcast. Sam, I can't wait to hear it. I've downloaded the first episode of your podcast. I haven't listened yet, but I got it, and I'm going to listen. You got my word. Gary says, Josh Trank's Fantastic Four was the only Fantastic Four movie I didn't like from Fox. I like the 2005 movie and its sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer. You know, Gary, I'm glad you said that. Those movies are unfairly maligned. They were fun. They were fun movies. And if you know the Fantastic Four comics are kind of the family sitcom of the Marvel Universe. You've got Johnny Storm, and you got the Thing, and they're bickering, and Johnny's playing pranks on the Thing, but they're a family. So it's like the sitcom of the Marvel Universe. That's how I would put it. It's like your Family Ties, or the Hogan family, or something of the Marvel superheroes. And I thought those films perfectly captured that. And they came out the same summer as Batman Begins, and I kept hearing people complain that Batman Begins took it seriously and was a serious, dark story, and Fantastic Four was too goofy. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's exactly what Fantastic Four should be. Fantastic Four should be goofy. They got the tone right. So yeah, I think those movies are very unfairly maligned. The only thing I think they really got wrong in those movies is Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom in those two Fantastic Four movies, the guy they cast, horrible. Truly horrible. Doctor Doom is the one thing I think those movies really botched. I would love to see Doctor Doom done right on screen. And I'm sure we'll see that now that it's part of the MCU. James says, ever seen the animated Sesame Street sketch Al and Bluebird, which focuses on compromise day and night? It's a great sketch. That doesn't sound familiar. It's very rare. I don't know something from Sesame Street, but that doesn't sound familiar to me. Sam says, my voice sounds childish, but I'm far from it. Also, my first episode is the worst, but hope you enjoyed. Don't worry, Sam. The first episode is the worst for everybody. You know, it's a learning curve. Have you read Chuck Tomasi and T. Morris's book, Podcasting for Dummies? Nothing I could recommend more for starting a podcast than my good friend, Mr. Chuck Tomasi's book. I almost said Chuck Norris. My good friend, Chuck Norris. I don't know Chuck Norris. I don't know why I almost said that. My good friend, Chuck Tomasi's book, Podcasting for Dummies. That is my great recommendation for anyone trying to start a podcast. So you can get that on Amazon. Podcasting for Dummies. Joey says, have you ever witnessed BBG sniffing slipcovers? Booth Babe Greg. I have not. Where's Booth Babe Greg been? He hasn't been in the chat for a long time. I don't think I've seen him in all of 2020. Where are you, Booth Babe Greg? Come back to us. James says, it's on your E. You can write it down in your notepad. It's called Sesame Street, Al and Bluebird. Is Lisa still here? Lisa is our other resident Muppet expert, so maybe she has heard of Al and Bluebird. Lisa, are you still here? Do you know Al and Bluebird? I got my handy dandy notebook, but you know what I don't have? I don't have a pen. There we go. Is this right? There we go. Al and Bluebird. All right. Jesse says, were you into the show's Outer Limits or Sliders? Yes and no. I like them both. But I'm not a huge fan of either. I certainly haven't seen a ton of episodes of each. I prefer the original Outer Limits to the new Outer Limits. Robert says, can we talk a little Kong versus Godzilla? Yes, we can. I'm excited about Kong versus Godzilla. I know it got pushed back, but I'm really looking forward to that, despite the fact that Godzilla sued me. Godzilla's lawyer's a jerk. But yeah, I'm very anxious to see that movie. Though, to be honest, I haven't really liked the new Godzilla movies that much. The first one I thought was kind of boring. Godzilla's only in 8 minutes of the movie. And the second one was an improvement, but it still lacked that certain something. The only movie in this franchise that I've really liked so far is Kong Skull Island. I really enjoyed Kong Skull Island. Gary says, I will say one last thing regarding the Disney-Fox deal. I believe that Disney will implode because they're becoming too big to manage. A business can only grow so large before hitting this point. You may be right. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I could see it happening maybe like within a decade. Backwin says, in your opinion, what's your favorite X-Men film, and which is the absolute worst? My favorite is either X-Men or X2. The worst is X-Men Origins Wolverine. Wolverine is garbage. Wolverine is total garbage. That's not even a question. That is the worst. Best, Days of Future Past. Well, Logan gives Days of Future Past a run for its money, but no, I'm going with Days of Future Past. I really like it. Greg from Greg's Game Room says, give me your best defense of Star Trek the Motion Picture. What do you like about it? Oh, wow, Greg. I love Star Trek the Motion Picture. It is a movie, I always say, it's one of those movies that for me, it's weird. It's kind of hard to love and kind of hard to hate at the same time. What I love about it is the production design. Beautiful looking movie. It looks amazing. I love the costumes. I love Golf Shirt Kirk. The scene where Kirk's got like a golf shirt on, like a white golf shirt. That's what I call it. I love Golf Shirt Kirk. I love Admiral Kirk's white on gray uniform at the beginning. I think the uniforms are beautiful in that movie. The special effects are beautiful in that movie. Jerry Goldsmith's score is amazing. What don't I like about it? The pacing isn't great. It lacks a certain punch, a certain chemistry among the characters is kind of missing. But when it is there, like the scene where McCoy comes on and he's been drafted. I mean, moments like that. It's you know what? It's a movie of moments. It's a movie of moments. I really like that movie. I really like that movie, but it is not a action-packed film. So if you're looking for that, you're going to be bored. It is not a well-paced film, I have to say. But no, I find it to be a very hard movie to hate. I enjoy it quite a bit, actually. It's one of those movies where it's like the story. It's a good story that's not well told. Let's put it that way. It's a good story that's not well told. It's a great story that could have had a better script with punchier dialogue, more character moments, better pacing. But the story is great. And it's beautiful. And oh my God, Jerry Goldsmith's score, one of the best scores he ever wrote. Yeah, I don't know what I could say. It's not a movie. I understand when people don't like it. I get it. It's not a movie for everybody. But man, I really enjoy that movie. Joey says, Joe, when you go to watch the Sonic movie, look at the amazing CGI of Sonic and tell me it's possible to do it in 3 months. Mm-hmm. Lisa says the only bluebird coming to mind is Big Bird in the Cage is the sad bluebird. Yes, the bluebird of happiness from Follow That Bird. Jesse says, did you like Noah Emmerich's Godzilla from 1998? Jesse, it's a weird thing. When I came out of Godzilla 2014, I always hated the Matthew Broderick movie. And I still don't think it's a good movie. But I walked out and I said, I will say this for the 98 movie versus the 2014 movie. As bad as the 98 movie was, at least it wasn't shy in showing you Godzilla. They weren't afraid to show you Godzilla. The 2014 movie was afraid to show you Godzilla. So no, I don't think the 98 movie is a good movie. But I do in retrospect, respect the fact that they at least did show us the monster, which the 2014 film just for some reason didn't want to do. DBZ says, what is your favorite non-Disney animated film? Good question. Good question. Oh, wow, I'd have to think about that. There's so many. And what's the criteria? Are we looking for funniest? Are we looking for most heartwarming? I don't know. I'd really have to think that through. Off the top of my head, I really like the How to Train Your Dragon movies. I really like, I think Illumination is probably the best animation studio out there right now that is not owned by Disney. The Minions and the Despicable Me movies, and they do the Grinch, the recent Grinch movie. Illumination does excellent work, as opposed to DreamWorks, who's very hit or miss. But I do like the How to Train Your Dragons movies from DreamWorks. Blue Sky hasn't really impressed me, except I like the Peanuts movie. Are we talking of all time too? I might go. I've been watching the Peanuts, all the Peanuts movies, the big screen Peanuts movies with my daughter. She's like suddenly very into Charlie Brown. And the second Peanuts big screen feature, Snoopy Come Home. That's one I really like. I really, really like Snoopy Come Home. So that might be on my list. Might be on my list. I don't know. How to Train Your Dragon is excellent. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, DBZ. There's so many good ones. Backwind says most of the Star Trek films were pretty good, except for Nemesis, even though I'm not a big Star Trek fan. Heck, First Contact is probably one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies. I agree with you. There's really only two Star Trek movies that I dislike, and that's Nemesis and Into Darkness. I don't like Into Darkness at all. I don't like Nemesis at all. But other than those two, out of 13 Star Trek movies, there's two I don't like. The other 11, I like some more than others. But I could sit and happily enjoy all 11 of the other films. People love to trash Insurrection. I think Insurrection's a very charming little film. It's not perfect, but I think it's a very Star Trek story. And other than some dumb comedy bits, like Worf having a pimple or Deanna and Beverly Crusher talking about how firm their boobs are, it actually works really well. Gary says, remember Stephen Collins from Star Trek The Motion Picture went on to Tales from the Golden Monkey. He was also the pastor on Seventh Heaven. Yes! And he also is a statutory rapist, a pedophile. So yeah, that is another stigma attached to that movie, is the fact that it's got Stephen Collins in it. Yeah, Stephen Collins is a bit of a creep, but he was in Star Trek The Motion Picture. Toast Burner says, Joe, I'm in my early 20s and recently watched most of The Next Generation and fell in love. What should I get into next Star Trek-wise? All right, well, Toaster Burner. Star Trek The Next Generation is my third favorite Star Trek series. My favorite, my absolute positive favorite, is Deep Space Nine. That said, I would advise you to go to my second favorite next, which is the original series. The original series is where it all started. It all comes from the original series, and that would be my choice. I'd say go original, and then you can't, once you've seen the original, you can't go wrong with Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is as good as it gets. Man, Deep Space Nine is a phenomenal show. The first couple seasons are a little rocky. That's the case with most Star Trek shows. I always say Star Trek, the original series, and Star Trek Discovery are the only two Star Trek shows I could think of that actually had really strong first seasons, because Next Generation had a pretty crappy first season. DS9's first season was rocky. Voyager's first season was rocky. Enterprise, their first season wasn't horrible, but it was the same writers that were just coming off of 7 years of Voyager, and it's like that first year of Enterprise wasn't bad, but there's a lot of haven't I seen this before kind of stuff. Like you just feel like, well, this kind of feels a little rehashy. I think I saw this story on Next Generation before. Wasn't there a Voyager that was like this? So yeah, Enterprise doesn't have a bad first season, but it does start to feel like the writers are maybe exhausted and out of ideas. So again, when you get to DS9, be patient through season 1 and 2. By the time you get to season 3, it all picks up. Jess says, do I like the 80s movie The Last Starfighter? Greetings, Starfighter. You have been selected by the Star League to defend the frontier against Kor and the Kodan Armada. Yeah, I absolutely love The Last Starfighter. Great movie. Greg says, okay, now defend Star Trek V. Oh, Greg, that's an easy one. Star Trek V is an underrated gem. I love Star Trek V. There's so much great in Star Trek V. Again, terrific Jerry Goldsmith score. The score, beautiful. My favorite thing about Star Trek V is Sybok. Sybok, the character of Sybok, Spock's half-brother, who embraced emotion over logic. That character, I believe, was ahead of its time. At the time, a lot of Star Trek fans really, really did not like Sybok. They're like, oh, we've never seen a Vulcan, an emotional Vulcan before. We've never seen that. But if you think about it, what are the odds an entire race of people are all going to agree to act a certain way? Can you imagine that? Could you imagine if the president came out tomorrow and said, everyone, we've decided to ban emotion. No more emotion. We're just going to use logic as our guide. And that's just the president of the United States. That's not even considering the other countries. Do you think everyone in this country would go, I'm on board with that? Guy makes sense. Let's ban all emotion. People, just in this country alone, people aren't going to go for that. Then you start bringing in other nations of the world. You're never going to get an entire race of people to agree on something like that. So Sybok was the first time we saw a character who was like, yeah, I'm not down with this whole banning of emotions thing. I don't think that's the way to go. And of course there would be a guy like him. It just, of course, it's only logical that there would be a guy like him. And Sybok was the first we saw of that. So I think Sybok was a brilliant character. I think there's so many great character moments in Star Trek V. The campfire scene. I love the campfire scene. I'm preparing to toast a marshmallow. And the sing-along. A lot of the humor in that movie was very, very funny because it stems from the characters and from who they are. Like the idea of Chekhov and Sulu lost in the woods. That's funny because they are the navigator and the helmsman of the Starship Enterprise. The idea that those two guys are lost, that's funny because of who they are. It's very character-driven humor. Yeah, then of course it also has really terrible special effects. So again, you have the negative, but I really like Star Trek V. Sam says, if my podcast gets good, you can be a special guest. I'd be happy to be on, Sam. You let me know anytime. Greg says, and Decker is supposed to be the son of Commodore Decker from the Doomsday Machine. Absolutely. Joey says, I will watch anything with Bill Cosby, but I will never watch anything with Stephen Collins. Sam says, have you seen My Bloody Valentine? I've seen the remake. Never saw the original. I know. Don't throw sticks and stones. I gotta watch it. I know. And I have it every Valentine's Day. I think, oh, maybe I'll watch My Bloody Valentine, and then I forget to do it, and then Valentine's Day passes, and then I say, it's too late now. Next Valentine's Day, maybe I got to try to watch that this week before we get too far from Valentine's. Yeah, I miss Valentine's Day, but maybe, just maybe, I can get it in before we get too far. James says, I used to watch the original Star Trek series on the Sci-Fi Channel as a kid. By the way, Joe, do you remember the Sci-Fi Channel and their cartoon block animation station? I do. I remember when the Sci-Fi Channel, not everyone had the Sci-Fi Channel. Only some markets had the Sci-Fi Channel, and I was always excited when I went to my aunt's because she had the Sci-Fi Channel and we did not. Gary says, fun fact, Stephen Collins was cast for Ted 2, but was convicted or arrested, I can't remember which, before filming, so they got Tom Brady to fill his role. James says, say Crazy Joe, ever seen Garfield and Friends? Oh man, we just recently got my daughter, Kira, hooked on Garfield and Friends. Bought her the DVDs. She loves it. Yeah, no, I love Garfield and Friends. Friends are there to help you get started, to give you a push on your way. Friends are there to turn you around, get your feet on the ground for a brand new day. They'll pick you up when you're down, help you swallow your pride when something inside needs to break on through to the other side. Don't get me started. I love Garfield and Friends. James says, in my opinion, Joe, Illumination can be very hit or miss. Opinion respected on Minions. To me, it's one of the worst animated films I've ever seen. I didn't really care for the Minions spinoff, but I really like the Despicable Me movies. Connor says, I know you said you don't get scared in movies, but what's the scariest film you've ever seen? Okay, Connor, I will tell you. And it wasn't so much the movie that scared me, because again, no, I don't get scared of movies, but the idea of what was happening, the idea that such a thing could happen. And you know, if you're young, if you're young, you may not understand this. I think maybe you really had to live through the 90s to understand this. I could be wrong. But I think anyone who is young and doesn't have a strong memory of the 90s may not understand this. But in the 90s, one of the big things that was out there in the public subconscious was the idea of alien abduction. It's part of the X-Files was super big at that time. And you had books like all these books about, you know, people getting abducted in their sleep by aliens. And you would see it on shows like Unsolved Mysteries. And then we had the alien autopsy. Now, if you didn't live through it, that might seem silly. You might be like, how did people get freaked out by alien abduction stories? How did that seems silly. Why did people get hung up on that? But you got to understand at that time and that place, that was a big thing in the public subconscious. It's part of the reason X-Files was such a hit. And a movie came out called Fire in the Sky. And it was about a UFO abduction, a guy who got abducted by UFOs. And it scared the crap out of me. It scared the crap out of me. Not the movie. Like, I knew they were just actors. But the idea that this could happen to you, the idea that you could be taken against your will and that these aliens could take you and you couldn't move and they could do things to you, that idea was terrifying to me. And I kind of rest easy now. It's not like I find it any less scary, but I kind of rest easy now because I'm in my 40s. And I figure if you listen to cases of alien abduction, if you listen to the people who claim to have been abducted by aliens, whether you believe them or not, one thing they always say, all these people who claim they've been abducted by aliens, they always claim they were taken from the time they were a child. Oh, you know, my whole life they've been coming for me. They came for me when I was a child, you know, blah, 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 blah. So I figure if I made it to 43 and the aliens haven't come for me yet, I'm too old. They probably don't want me. Because the alien abductees always say it happened to them from the time they were very, very young. And they haven't come for me yet. So if they haven't come for me at 43, I'm starting to feel safe. But yeah, Fire in the Sky. And I saw Brandon guessed it before I ever said it. Yes, Brandon, Fire in the Sky. That's the one. Lisa says, 90s kid here. Alien probe jokes everywhere. Yes, absolutely. I Want My Slaw says, Joe, thank you for doing Crazy After Dark each week. It means so much to me. You always make my Wednesday nights great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. You know, I told my wife, I said, sometimes I don't feel like doing it. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood. I'm not in the zone. But I know people look forward to it. I don't always understand why, but you know, but I appreciate you being here. So I try to get that. James says, anybody remember eating at Chi-Chi's back in the day? I love their chips and dip. James, my God, every Friday night from about 2001 till about 05 or 06, somewhere in that range of time. Every Friday night, you would find me at Chi-Chi's doing karaoke. Karaoke night at Chi-Chi's every Friday from about 01 to about 06 without fail. It was crazy. Lisa says, hence the aliens on The Simpsons, Kang and Kodos are going to get us. Gary says, oh, he's talking to James. Anyway, Media Freak Reviews. Hey, Joe, did you watch The Joker? What did you think of it? Media Freak Reviews, I loved The Joker. I thought it was really, really good. And Joker was a movie I didn't expect to like. I really went into it thinking this movie is not going to be for me. This movie is going to be garbage. I'm not interested. I'm going to go see it, but I'm not interested. I was wrong. It was in my top 5 of the year. By the way, guys, we're going to be closing up shop soon. So just a reminder, our good friend Super Chat Hippo is here. If you want to hear from Super Chat Hippo, he will sing for you. Anyway, Ethan says you can get Chi-Chi's salsa. I still buy Chi-Chi's salsa. Toaster Burner says sounds like you're taunting the aliens. Be careful. We'll see. We'll see. If they come for me, I can't do anything about it, right? They're going to get me. Josh says I'll be 44 on February 28th. I'm old too. Congratulations, Josh. You're safe from the aliens. They don't want us at our age. James says, say, Joe, do you remember the Steak and Ale restaurant? Ooh, you know, James, that name sounds familiar, but I gotta say, I not exactly. The name sounds familiar, but I don't know. Oh, I know why the name sounds familiar. I know why the name sounds familiar. No, I've never been to a Steak and Ale restaurant. Never. But I had a gift card for Bennigan's. Go watch. You can find this too. There's a whole video on it. One of my really old videos. In fact, one of my oldest videos that still, for some reason, frequently gets comments is called Crazy Joe Eats a Bennigan's Monte Cristo Sandwich. But I had a Bennigan's gift card that kind of came into play in that video, Crazy Joe Eats a Bennigan's Monte Cristo Sandwich. And it was in my wallet from 08 until just a couple of years ago. And Bennigan's went out of business, or the chain, you know, now they're back. They're independently owned and operated. But for a long time there, Bennigan's was closed, and I had this gift card. So, but the gift card had other businesses, other restaurants that were owned by Bennigan's that you could visit on the back. And one of them was Steak and Ale. And we got a super chat from David Rembert. Thank you, David. And Super Chat Hippo. Thanks you. You tell him. The most dangerous animal on earth, the hippo. It attacks. But when you feed him, he sings. I thank you, David. I thank you very much. I appreciate it. Connor says, the only movie that ever scared me as a kid was not a horror either. It was Edward Scissorhands. Oddly enough, I was just telling my daughter about Edward Scissorhands. She's never seen it. Jesse says, what's your favorite body snatcher type movie? Well, I love the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with not Donald Glover. What's his name? Donald Sutherland. I like that. That's a good one. James says, ever been to Applebee's? Oh, I love Applebee's. My kids love Applebee's. Yes, frequently to Applebee's. Media Freak says, I like Joker, but I didn't think it's the best movie ever. Well, I don't think it's the best movie ever either. I did put it number 5 on my top 5 films of the year, which means there were 4 films I liked more than the Joker. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Greg says, I remember Steak and Ale. Seemed like a tavern kind of place. I have never been to Steak and Ale. And David, I did not read David's message. David said, let that hippo sing. Thank you again, David. Lisa says, my voice is actually starting to get that. I got to stop talking soon because I've been talking for an hour. I need a co-host. It's easier. It's easier when you have a co-host because you don't have to do all the talking. Lisa says, my sister used to make me cover my eyes for Beetlejuice and Large Marge's scary face as a kid. Once I watched it without her, I was so ticked. I showed my daughter Pee-wee when she was about 8. And oh my God, she didn't sleep for weeks because of Large Marge. I got, my wife was not pleased with me. James has ever been to Chipotle? I have. I like Chipotle. You know what I like more than Chipotle, though? There's a chain. I don't know how widespread they are. There's a few of them around here. Not enough. But there's a chain around here called California Tortilla. I like them. I like them better, personally. And, oh, David, you're too kind, man. You're too kind. David says he wants to hear the hippo again. The most dangerous animal on earth, the hippo. Did you know how dangerous the hippo is? The hippo is one of the most fierce animals on earth and attacks people and kills them with its powerful jaws. I just think that's interesting because it makes sense, their size and the size of their mouth, that a hippo could be that dangerous. But they don't seem like they'd be that fast. They seem like they'd be slow, but apparently that is not the case. Gary says, first horror movie to genuinely scare me was Carrie with Sissy Spacek, specifically the end when the brunette puts flowers on the lot where Carrie's house used to be. Gloop Trekker is here. Welcome to the party, Gloop Trekker. Gloop Trekker says, as a kid, Legend of Boggy Creek both frightened and fascinated me. You know, that's another one I own. Greg says, can I co-host? You know what, Greg? Let's do that. Let's get the old Google Hangouts going or something and do a co-host episode. Or it doesn't even have to be live. We could do an episode like I did with Serial at Midnight for the top 5. I think Rick and I need to do something while Cinema Sickness is in Florida. I think he and I need to team up and do something. All right, guys, I need to close this out because my voice is starting to go. I've been talking for an hour. It's starting to get a little scratchy from the talking. And Gary also wants to come on and co-host as long as it's after 9 p.m. because he watches Survivor every week and I don't want to miss it. You know, the DVR is recording Survivor. I will be watching Survivor as soon as we end this. Media Freak says, I just saw The Shining today. I want to read the book, and I wanted to read the book and then see the movie. Shining's good. Check out Dr. Sleep, too. That's a pretty good movie. All right, guys, I am going to wrap this up. Oh, and we got a joke from Gary. I got to read the joke before we wrap this up. Gary says, what did Kermit the Frog say after Jim Henson died? Nothing. Well, if we want to get technical, Kermit the Frog has never stopped talking. Steve Whitmire took over, and now Mr. Matt Vogel is performing Kermit the Frog. Media Freak says, see you later, Crazy Joe. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. David, thank you for the super chats. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Greg says later, Cracky. Cracky, the nickname that will never die. I'm probably about due to tell the Cracky story again. It's probably been a while. Maybe next week. Maybe next week we will tell the Cracky story again. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And as always, keep wearing those pajamas. And we'll be back next Wednesday.